as of late, I have been doing a series of these little descriptives, these stories regarding a lot of subject matter which you might consider to be, dare I say, conspiracy theory stuff, when in fact they're not, but that's what they're called. I did one at MK Ultra, and I've talked about geoengineering. There's nothing really conspiracy about it, but the one that comes up all the time is HAARP. People have talked about HAARP, and you're wondering, what is HAARP? Well, if you're gonna get into this, and you're going to try to compete with the rest of us, you're gonna have to know specifically what this HAARP thing is. What is it exactly? What does it even mean? Well, let me describe this to you if I could. In the wilderness of Gakona, Alaska, Gakona, Gakona, there lies a research facility that has sparked decades of fascination and suspicion and controversy. It's known as HAARP. HAARP. Think of like an association for retired people, but H. It stands for the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, and everyone in the conspiratorium knows all about it. And you can't even compete with us if you don't know HAARP. If you can't drop it. And it's always regarding weather. What it is it's officially described as a scientific installation designed to study the ionosphere, the uppermost layer of the Earth's atmosphere. And it was originally introduced or launched in 1993 as a joint venture between the U.S. Air Force and the Navy and DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research, that DARPA, we'll do a whole thing on DARPA too, but that's like the research part of the Defense Department. That's what gave us everything from the internets to in QTEL. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, so it's the Army, the Navy, DARPA, and the University of Alaska. And HAARP's stated mission is, now listen to me, is to better understand atmospheric phenomena and improve radio communications, GPS systems, and satellite operations. Right. Okay, that's their story, and by God, they're sticking to it. Now, the facility features a massive array of 180 high-frequency antennas spread across more than 30 acres. And these antennas transmit powerful blasts and bursts of radio energy directly into the atmosphere. And it heats localized areas to observe how the atmosphere will react. Makes sense to me. Now, to researchers, it's an advanced lab in the sky. And to skeptics, or people who think, or people to skeptics and investigators, it's something else entirely. You see, a machine capable of manipulating nature. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? So what makes HAARP so captivating to the public isn't just its power, and it's got power, but its potential. You see, the facility can project 3.6 megawatts of radio frequency energy skyward. That's enough to raise questions about whether it could actually influence the weather. Remember what Cohen said. Remember, defense. Look it up. I'm not going to do every. Look at what William Cohen said, defense secretary. Now, over the years, a lot of folks have pointed out a correlation between, dare I say, intense ionospheric disturbances and unusual weather events. Some even believe, I don't know where they get this from, but some believe that HAARP can manipulate jet streams. It can trigger storms or drought or even cause earthquakes by interacting with tectonic structures deep below the Earth's surface. Wow! I mean, imagine if you could go out there into the Pacific at some tectonic fault line, zap some HAARP energy or Tesla waves or directed energy or whatever it is, and then start an earthquake, and you get a tsunami. You don't need to fire one bullet, and nobody knows. Hey, it's not me. I just wiped out half of Japan or whatever it is. It's not me. Now, these ideas, of course, have led many to connect HAARP with geoengineering, and we've talked about this. That's large-scale manipulation or attempted manipulation of climate systems that were at least theoretically intended to combat or to stop global warming. Now, while HAARP doesn't spray aerosols into the atmosphere, some have speculated that it works in conjunction with aerial spraying programs. See, according to this theory, metallic particles such as barium or aluminum are dispersed into the sky, and HAARP's energy beams. I'm sorry, let me go back to what I was trying to say. I'm going to do this slowly. I want to make sure, because this is important. I don't want to misstate. I've done a lot of research. I want to get this in carefully. The idea is that metallic particles such as barium or aluminum, were dispersed into the sky, and HAARP's energy beams then activate or manipulate or fire up or do something, those particular particles, altering atmospheric conditions on demand. That's the theory. That's what's being said. Now, others are arguing that HAARP's real power lies not in weather modification, but in human influence. You see, some folks believe, and this is really interesting, some folks have posited that HAARP is capable of psychotronic warfare. Wait a minute. What? Psychotronic? What the hell is that? I got to worry about psychotronic? I don't like the sound of that. Well, how about using electromagnetic frequencies to influence the human mind? Wow. Huh? I mean, this theory traces back to the Cold War and programs like MK Ultra, which we've talked about, and MK Delta. And this is when the CIA experimented with brainwave manipulation and hypnosis and hallucinogens and drugs and all kinds of stuff in order to control human behavior. I mean, is this neat or what? Seriously. Isn't this fascinating? Now, if human thought is based on electrical impulses, could maybe externally beamed frequencies disrupt it or change them or control them? If I didn't tell you that I didn't love this stuff, it blows my mind. There was a report from the European Parliament in 1998. You may have heard about it. And it raised some pretty serious concerns about HAARP's ability to manipulate weather and influence biological, processes or processes, as we say. And they warned that it could pose a serious threat to the environment and public health. But what do we care about public health? Do I have to remind you of what happened recently? Do I have to remind you of that? I don't think so. Now let me stop right there. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes I get an interruption. It's my wife. Very important. So I had to stop for a second. Now, I don't know where I was, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to pick up where I left off. And if it's the same, sue me. But by the way, you like this so far? Make sure you like this. Make sure you hit like, because this is good stuff. So as I was saying, and I might be repeating myself, but there was that European Parliament report in 1998. And it made a lot of people very scared about what the hell was going on here. Very, very scared about HAARP's ability to, manipulate weather. And if you can manipulate weather, that's a whole other story. But what about affecting biological processes and thinking and mentation and the like? Okay? It can pose a very, very serious threat. It's very serious. Now, the report didn't offer definitive proof, per se, but it added, dare I say, to the substantiation and the credibility and the belief and the fear that HAARP's power might extend beyond anything that the public's being told. Imagine that. Imagine the government doing something and not telling you everything they're doing. I know it's hard to believe. Now, in a world, of course, where technologies like Neuralink are developing brain-computer interfaces, and which, by the way, is fascinating, but where global leaders openly discuss geoengineering strategies to alter the climate. HAARP feels less kind of like a relic of the conspiracy culture and more like a plausible tool, a very scary, powerful tool in a much larger system of control. Now, with global elite types, pursuing smart grids and weather modification, all this stuff, and an AI-driven surveillance, many people are believing that HAARP could be a component, and this is very, very serious, in a kind of a worldwide mechanism aimed at managing both nature in terms of weather, but also the human condition. That's psychotronic. Isn't that a beautiful word? Now, for many people believe in HAARP isn't driven by paranoia. It's driven by precedent. They're saying, no, this is a very important thing. See, the public has been deceived before. From the CIA's secret drug programs, we talked about this with HAARP and Gottlieb, with MK Ultra and MK Delta and Monarch and Gottlieb. All of this declassified. But from the CIA's secret drug programs to government-run surveillance, exposed now by whistleblowers, history has shown that covert experimentation is real. And anything you can think of, other people are thinking about this stuff. So add to that the near total blackout of HAARP from mainstream discussion. You'll never hear this on TV. You never hear anybody mention it. We know about it. We've been talking about this all the time because we are, frankly, tuned in. Wish it. They call us crazy. They call us nuts. Remember, whenever we hit something right, they call us crazy. Okay? And it's easy for people to understand why so many people are asking questions. And I think and I've been asking this for the longest time. Now, HAARP, what it does is it taps into fundamental fears about control. Control about the skies, control about weather, control about nature, control about personalities, about the earth, and the mind. Think about this. Do you know how much the weather can affect you, your mood, how you're doing? But it's more than the weather. What if I could directly control how your neurotransmitters are pumped out? Whether it's actively weaponized or not, its capabilities remain largely classified, and its potential impact remains, I think for the most part, pretty much misunderstood. That's why we're here asking the questions. Now, for critics, that's exactly the problem. Now, when institutions and organizations and all these folks operate in secrecy and they deploy and they use technologies the public can't see or understand or know about, suspicion becomes inevitable. And suspicion has nothing to do. There's nothing wrong with suspicion. The Terry stop, Terry against Ohio, when a police officer has reasonable suspicion that a crime is being committed, was committed, or is about to be committed. Suspicious mind, Elvis even talks about it. Nothing wrong with that. Suspicion doesn't mean proof, but it leads to a probable cause, which leads eventually to reasonable doubt. So even if HAARP is just a tool for atmospheric research, great. It symbolizes a broader unease, and you don't have to ask permission to ask questions. It stands at the intersection, my friends, of science, power, and secrecy, okay? Where trust in public institutions is eroding drastically. And the lines, and this is what we're always saying, the lines between scientific advancement and what's legitimate and military application are increasingly blurred. Now, to some folks, which is true, HAARP is just an experiment. No big deal. To other people, it's the keystone of a new kind of warfare or potential warfare, one that uses or could use invisible forces to control both the planet and its people. So let me ask you this question. Do you think this is nuts? Do you think it's crazy? Well, you don't have to ask anybody's permission for you to come along and just say, you know what, I don't like this. I want to investigate this more. And that's what we're going to do. Okay? So there you have it. So do me a favor, my friends. Like this video. Please hit the little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos. Make sure that you are also a part of this community that we're in. This community where we ask questions that are critical. And we don't have to ask permission. They're not conspiracy theories. They're conspiracy questions. What's wrong with that? It's a question. And I love questions. So do me a favor, please subscribe to the channel. You know that 80-something% of the people who come to our videos don't subscribe? It's horrible. And these metrics put us into the HOV lane, which we so desperately need. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious time. And by the way, the questions afterwards, make sure you answer them. Make sure you answer these questions. Make sure you comment as you see fit.